Welcome to the West Ham Voice on Sunday. I hope you're all doing well, having a good weekend. First of all, my thanks to Hastings Hammers. I did a video yesterday when I was down there in Hastings, celebrating the 50th, wasn't the anniversary, but the 50th year of us winning the FA Cup. We saw a replay of the FA Cup final at a local cinema down there, and it was a good day. So thank you to the Hastings Hammers for their hospitality. It was a really good day. Cheers, Paul and Wiggy. I hope you both got home safely. And what it showed is that not all fans are full of doom and gloom. Despite our situation at West Ham, they're fans that are still sort of like, focused, and they want West Ham to do well. Of course, we're all frustrated, but there is hope and there's belief that as a club we can progress. So thank you all for that. Look, if you're new to this channel, first time you're watching the West Ham Voice, or if you've watched before but yet to subscribe, please do. All the content is free. And if you enjoy the video today, please hit the like button as well. Now, what am I going to talk about? Well, briefly about Petta, but mainly about the game against Man United. For those of us who unfortunately stayed up in the middle of the night to watch the game, I don't know how inspired you would have felt. But let's talk first about Lucas Paqueta, because one of the stories that broke out yesterday, apart from him obviously rumoured to be exonerated from all the serious charges about spot fixing, is that, of course, the Mail decided to throw a spanner in the works. Of course, we can't celebrate anything for too long, can we, without the press getting involved. And the Mail suggested that we're now going to sell Lucas Paqueta for something like £30 million. Utter nonsense. And I've asked and I've had it confirmed that West Ham United see the player as a 50, 60 million pound player if he's going to be sold. And it's been made very clear it's up to the manager and it's up to the player to discuss how what his future holds. So if we sell Paqueta, then Potter will obviously have more funds to bring other players in. And if we keep him, then with the FA hearing lifted off his shoulders, we may see a revitalised Lucas Paqueta next season. Look, I'm open to look. If we know that we've got 2 or 3 players lined up to replace Lucas Paqueta, actually lined up, I'm ready to go, then I might sort of, say begrudgingly, okay, let's let him go. But if we don't, and we end up selling him and we don't have anyone to replace him with, then it's a big alarm bell. So now the rumours persist that we're in for a whole array of players. But in reality, let's be really realistic about this. The sort of players that we've been linked to, 40, 50 million pounds, we really know that it's highly unlikely that we're going to go for that kind of player, that kind of price. And I kind of take those rumours with a pinch of salt. I know the Harvey Elliott thing, it keeps going on, but I just don't know. I just don't know that we would end up paying 40 odd million pounds for him. Because as we already know, Macaulay identifies players at a reasonable price who can be good now and then build their stature to become high value players of the future. But what we know is we definitely need players, especially from what we saw in the match against Man United. Now, I'm not going to go into over. I know it's pre-season. I know results don't matter. It's more about the performance. But I think it's the performance that concerns me over the result. Yet again, we made a very average looking, even with all their new signings, we made a very average looking Man United look better. And we gifted them 2 goals. In the first 5 minutes, the fumble by Areola, and then of course later in the game when the pass out was reminiscent. I can't remember what game it was at the end of last season when he did exactly the same. He passed it straight down the middle and there was no one there to pick it up. Now, Areola can't be having a good time of it at the moment. He's obviously aware that West Ham United are looking for a new keeper. That's why we've let Lucas Fabianski leave the club. And Kasper Ankergen, one of the new goalkeeping coaches, would have been watching from the sidelines with a face to say, we need to sort out the goalie situation sooner rather than later. We know what Areola's like. If you ask him to be a shot stopper, he's fantastic at that. Good at distribution? No, he's not. And I don't know if you can train someone. He's 32 years old now. I don't know if you can train someone to become a good distributor of the ball at that age. Maybe you can. I don't know. So I think there's going to be a real push to, especially after the performance of Areola. Like, I mean, he made a great save, didn't he, before the second goal? Their second goal, he pulled off a great save. But we need more from a keeper. Or Potter is looking for more from a keeper these days. It's interesting when we were watching the FA Cup final replay of '75. All the keepers had to do was just boot the ball up. That's all their job was: save shots and just boot the ball up. None of this distributing, little passes from the back, etc. It's a very different game. But the modern game, that's what coaches want. They want a very different approach from their keepers. They want their keepers to be sweeper keepers. Now, again, Mads Hermansen, as I said the other day, every time we're poised to make a bid for him, it goes quiet. And I just don't understand what's going on there. And maybe Mads Hermansen is not the goalie that we're after. And there's news, apparently we're adding to this now, that we're apparently in for Sheffield United's keeper, Michael Cooper. English keeper, 25 years of age. I don't know when his contract expires. I looked on Transfer Market, but it didn't say. Apparently his value is about £15 million. But great shot stopper, bit like Areola. And as was proven last season when Sheffield United just missed out on promotion, great shot stopper, but his distribution qualities seem to be quite weak. Now, unlike Hermansen, he's less active outside the box. That's one of the reasons why we were apparently interested in Hermansen, because he is a sweeper keeper. He can carry the ball out of the 18-yard box and play as almost like a sweeper, a centre-back, and on top of that, he's a good shot stopper and all that sort of stuff. But Cooper is not known for his distribution skills. So if we're going to look at sort of maybe replacing Areola with another keeper, then surely it's got to be it's got to have something extra to what Areola doesn't have. So I'm not altogether certain that Cooper is the right fit for the way that Graham Potter wants to play his game. Build it from the back with the keeper being involved. So I'm not certain about that rumor, to be quite honest with you, but let's see how that develops. Now, the game against Man United also it proved that we've still got the same problems as we had last season. Now, whilst I appreciate preseason, as I said, about getting match fit, why Graham Potter thought that a midfield of Souček, Ward-Prowse and Rodriguez was going to show us anything different to what we already know is beyond me. Now, the same problems of last season in midfield was there for all to see. No pace, no drive forward, a lot of sideways passing, no incisive passing, no energy. And I don't know why it took so long. Well, maybe I do know why it took so long for Petta to come on, because when he came on, it made a difference. Now, initially, when I didn't see him in the starting lineup, after reading that he's going to be, all the FA charges are going to be dropped, of course, not being in the starting lineup, you start wondering what's going on. He's about to be sold, isn't he? Maybe that's why he wasn't picked. But he did come on in the latter half of the second half. Maybe he was carrying a slight niggle, and maybe we could only get 15, 20 minutes out of him. That's possible, but we've not heard anything about Petta carrying a knock. But maybe, just maybe, Graham Potter was making a point to the board. He was saying, look where we are at this moment in time without Lucas Paqueta in the starting lineup. If you look at selling him, you're going to need to give me that money so I can go out there and get myself a couple of players that are going to be ready-made replacements for him. So I don't know, maybe, just maybe, there's a message out to the board to suggest, come on, guys, what's going on with transfers? Look, when Paqueta came on, Freddie Potts came on, Irving came on, and young 18-year-old Preston Vera came on, they gave us much more impetus in the midfield. And I would have liked to have seen these players come on, given a half. We're all getting match fit, etc. There was nothing to prove by playing Ward-Prowse, Rodriguez and Souček for the 70-odd minutes that they played. We learnt nothing. We learnt nothing from having those players play so long. Yes, match fitness, but other than that, I saw more to be concerned about in our midfield than to be happy about, because it was stagnant. There was nothing there for me to sort of hang on to say, oh, oh, look, Potter has changed things a little bit. We've improved. Nothing of that. Look, Irving, in my eyes, is underrated and perhaps really does need to have more game time than he's already been given. Because when Irving comes on, he's not the most glamorous of players. But then we said that of Souček when he first arrived at West Ham and ever since. Not the most glamorous of players, but there's something about him. There's a steely sort of grit about him that I kind of like. He wants to get involved. He wants to get stuck in. He's quite happy. He's more than comfortable on the ball. So I kind of do want to see more of Irving. Is he going to be the answer to our midfield? Not necessarily, but I think he's a kind of a better option than the three that started at midnight against Man United. Potts did well. I think he demonstrated that once he was settled in, he can actually make a difference in that midfield. He had some grit about him. He got stuck in there. He was happy to get into the mix. I don't know what is going on with. I can only imagine that the only reason why Rodriguez is starting is because Potter is trying to build that kind of formation: the 5 at the back, the 3 in the middle, and 2 up front. That's what he seems to be going for. And maybe at this moment in time, Rodriguez is the only option that we have in that pivot role, that holding midfield role. Of course, Alvarez should be back. My understanding is he should be back any time. Apparently, he was meant to be back between the Man United game and the next game. Is it Everton? I think it is. So I don't think Alvarez will play too soon for him. He won't have had any training, etc. But I would imagine that moving forward, if we don't sell Alvarez, it's going to be Alvarez doing that pivot role rather than Rodriguez. And of course, we've got Somerville to come back, and he's got pace, but unfortunately, we're not saying this in this tournament because he's not with us, the squad. But overall, our midfield and our goalie situ is an issue. In midfield, it's been suggested that we're now looking at. Oh no, let me go back one because I've forgotten about him, because I've got to mention Preston Fearon. Now, when he came on as well, the 18-year-old midfielder is an attacking midfielder. He looked the part as well. And is there a suggestion? Yeah, I mean, he leapfrogged over the likes of Orford. I know Earthy's injured, but he leapfrogged over the likes of Orford to come on, and I liked him. I saw glimpses of what the future could be for West Ham. He looked good. He looked comfortable. Another player comfortable on the ball, getting into the mix, passing it forward. He was keen on driving the ball forward, and I quite like that. So, but will we see more of him? I don't know. I don't think necessarily. I think it's good that he's had a taste. But it's possible that Fearon will go out on loan rather than being part of the senior squad next season. Now, in midfield, apparently now we're looking at 25-year-old Austrian international Romano Schmidt. Now, I don't know about this one. He's an attacking midfielder, currently plays for Werder Bremen, who's valued at about £15 million. In 32 league games last season, he scored 5 and assisted in 5 goals in the Bundesliga. He's not the tallest of midfielders, 5'6" tall, but he is an attack-minded player. He's renowned to create many chances for this team. Versatile, can play along across the middle of the park. He's left-footed, but his weaknesses are kind of the defensive-minded part of the game. He doesn't have the best ball retention. So again, I don't know. Apparently, Aston Villa are interested in this player as well. I don't know. I've never seen him play. I'm only going by a scout report that's online, and the suggestion is that his weaknesses are about getting back to help in midfield, and about his ball retention. So I don't know if that's going to be a realistic target or not. As for defence, I've got to say, Todibo didn't really look fantastic, but Dinos did. And I know people are going to laugh at that, but you go back and have a look at the game. He got in there. I think he's got a point to prove, hasn't he? To suggest that don't forget about me. I might be, 4th choice behind a Gerd, Kilman, and Todibo, but I can still provide a service. And to be honest with you, when he came on, I thought he was good. He was, got stuck in there. He carried the ball out. He took the ball, further forward. He gave us a bit of an impetus. So I kind of like what I saw, and he's got a point to prove. I don't know if it's going to be sold, but let's see what happens. Other players, Diouf, finding his way. He'll definitely improve as he settles in, as he gets to know the players around him. But at this moment in time, like I said, I don't care about the result. I just care about the performance. And the performance, it smacks of everything that we already knew that we had last season. The performance our defense is still a little bit shaky. Areola is still very shaky. Our midfield is currently non-existent. We're really, really lightweight. It's so many times I saw the ball, in one of the central defenders had it, and they were looking for, come on then, people, make a move, give me an opportunity to pass it to you, to drive it forward. But it was quite stagnant, it was quite stayed, much the same as what we experienced last season. And that worries me. Because we absolutely need to go and get ourselves some other midfielders to give us different options. I think, in defense, probably going to be okay with the players that we got. I know he's settling in as well. He's got to play along. He hasn't played alongside Kilman, so he's finding his way. But I think that will be okay. I think that will improve. I think we've got the options out wide, with Diouf, Skulls, Wan-Bissaka and Kyle Walker-Peters. We've got options in the wide berths. We've got options in defence. We don't have options in the midfield. And of course, we don't have options up front. Again, Fulkrug, didn't get the service that he was expecting. So, of course, he was not effective. And maybe if Callum Wilson comes in, again, not a player that I particularly want. But if Callum Wilson comes in, that just will give us something different up front. But our midfield, really, our goalie, I like Areola. I've always been a fan of his, but the mistakes he made, 2 mistakes which led to 2 goals. You do that in the Premier League and you're going to be absolutely stuffed. So we need a goalie. We need, at the very least, a goalie to compete with him, if not, taking over his number 1 position. We need a goalie. And boy, oh boy, do we need improvements in midfield. I want to see more, with the games coming up. I want to see more of Marshall. I was surprised he didn't get a run out. I want to say, this is it. Potter could have made a lot of changes. Man United made 10 changes on the 70th minute. We made 3, 4, 5 at most, but I don't mind seeing, in pre-season, making lots of changes, seeing what players can deliver. Fearon as a prime example. I want to see more of Marshall. I want to see more of Potts. I actually want to see the likes of Potts and Irving starting in midfield in the next game. I don't know if Potter will do that or not, but I think it will be good if he did do that, to sort of say to these players, to say to the likes of Ward-Prowse and Rodriguez and Souček and all the others, look, you're not nailed on to be starting these games, because if these youngsters come on and they can demonstrate that they're better than you, as they did when they did come on in the game against Man United, then your place in the team is not guaranteed. There's lots of work. There's lots of work to do in the transfer market. There's still lots of work to do on the training pitch. It looks like Potter is going with a 5-3-2 formation. I looked at the way Jared Bowen played alongside Fulkrug, and then of course Fulkrug came off and Petta went sort of up front alongside Bowen. I didn't like it. I think Bowen looked a little bit lost. I know a lot of people say Bowen's no good up front. What I like about Bowen is when he's out wide, he's effective. When he's in the middle on his own, ironically, yes, I think he can do that sort of job and have players supporting him. But playing in a 2 just didn't seem right. But then he scored a great goal, didn't he? So that proved me wrong. But there's lots to do. We still don't have the players available to honestly say that we're improving, unfortunately. That's a slight concern, but there's still time to go. We've still got Alvarez coming back. We've still got at Somerville to come in. But we need to see some new faces. At the very least, 3 more new faces, I think. A goalie, an attacking midfielder, and a striker to improve this team somewhat. All right. Thank you for watching and listening. Like I said, if you're new to the channel or if you've watched before and you've yet to subscribe, all free. So please do subscribe. But please do hit the like button if you've enjoyed the show. I'll see you again soon. I don't know about another West Ham Weekly. I might do a West Ham Weekly live on Monday night, but there might be another show in between that on Monday morning. So look out for that. Thanks for watching and listening. Have a good rest of this Sunday.